having a sense of purpose is really what separates having just a job from a career, right? And Barbara Ann, I'm listening to you. We have a lot in common, not the least of which we went to the LSE, but one of the wonderful things we have in common is we both jump out of bed in the morning and love what we do. And so I think two things for the people tuned in for Portfolios with Purpose to bear in mind are, first, you know, how do you get a clear sense? Because this is, again, those conversations you have with yourself about where your genuine passion lies. I've been fortunate. It's sort of been there in me, that ability to sort of align my thoughts, my feelings, my intentions, my actions, and focus. I love that rocket fuel, right? But for many people, there needs to be some clarity in the conversations with themselves on that, so that they're distinguishing what they're genuinely motivated by from the well-intentioned advice they may be getting nonstop from members of their family, perhaps professors, people around them, about what they should do, particularly in a period with this level of disruption. And then the other thing is, you know, finding the best way to take those talents and thrive in the business world. Because I say to people all the time, it's one thing to figure out what you want to do. It's another thing to get someone to pay you to do it, right? So both sides need to happen. So when we talk about this idea of really clarifying that sense of passion, I think it's really important for people to think back even to the early family system. You know, Barbara, and you mentioned your folks, right? I mean, did your parents have a sense of purpose in their work, right? Were they happy? What did you learn by witnessing their career experience unfold? What you're attracted to, and what maybe you'd like to do a little bit differently in terms of your own life journey and your key areas of working. I think with all of the change that we're seeing right now, it's also vital when people are thinking through things like this, that they cultivate important mentors and friends that they can brainstorm with, that they don't just ask questions like, I've got these two different career alternatives. It's not the choices we make. It's being able to have confidence in our own decision-making process. Because even in the market, it's not your choice. You'll make so many of them. Some you'll get right, some you'll get wrong. Often you'll course correct. Often the course correcting is the part that really is profitable, right? It's confidence in that decision-making process and clarity in those conversations we have with ourselves. So even to use mentors more effectively, you may want to reach out to people and say, hey, listen, I'm not looking for advice about what I should do. I'm wondering if you can give me feedback on whether I sound like I'm being true to myself, right? Do I sound like I'm being emotionally honest as I talk about this choice with you? Or does it feel like maybe there's some feelings that I'm suppressing because I just don't even want to know that about myself under pressure, right? And then we move into, you know, where can you thrive? And one of the things I'm often thinking about is it's vital for people to be able to either build or align themselves with organizations that reinforce their core values. When you're starting out in your career, there are some spectacular, dazzling organizations out there. And you think, wow, I want to work here. Right. And while the balance sheet and the cachet is really important, I think the other thing that's vital is to really take a step back and think about the group energy of that environment. Because the place where you spend the key years of your working career and you invest your energy will impact your sense of self. It will shape your values over time. Those norms will get in there, right? It'll impact the pace at which you lead your life. So even when you're evaluating different organizations, you want to be thinking about things like, wow, when they talk about their values and their mission statement, are they living by this? Are they behaving based on this, particularly under pressure? Or are these just kind of like words on a whiteboard, right? You know, who in this organization has the ability to acknowledge problems and question rules? Or I know what the formal criteria is for advancement, but what are the personality characteristics of the people who actually get ahead here? What are they like? You know, you really want to understand all these things because as we know, you know, good investors in anything will look at some of the facts, some of the obvious facts. Great investors will look at the nuances underneath them. And when you're looking at organizations, you want to look at things like loyalty, motivation, those things that will keep you true to your own values. When we're talking to people about culture, we're talking to companies around the world about making the shift from what we call the self-help mindset, which is something that's easy to sort of say, well, that, that just happens when it's business as usual. And that's people that are so focused on their personal agenda that there's a lot of internal competition, and they're not necessarily dealing with conflict in a way that fortifies their integrity, right? And it gets kind of difficult internally. When you get to the us help mindset, you look at a culture that is fostering norms that are rooted in a sense of purpose, where everyone's individual strengths are balanced against their ability to support the overall dynamic of the group. So I think that you start with a sense of purpose early, you clarify the conversations you're having with yourself, and you realize that one of the most important investments you're going to make is in an organization where the behavioral norms that align with your values are something that are going to help you build on that so you can realize your authentic ambitions.